Joe Budden and Flip air out their contracts.
Did you not think I was getting over?
You were. You got over.
While I was getting over, I was making moves. So at some point, when you stopped me from getting over, you stopped something that looked like somebody is taking advantage of your business practices. He's taking advantage of intertwining into an uprising of what I was doing. So then now
I get what you're saying.
But I can still say that.
Let me ask you, will you acknowledge that you were taking advantage of?
I was.
Yeah, that's right. On the last episode of the Joe Budden podcast, Joe and Flip went at it again about how the two have been taking advantage of each other over the last few years. But Flip pulled a Uno reverse card on Joe and let him know that he's actually the one who's been winning this whole time. Now, how this happened is they start getting into this exchange on the back end of a Patreon where they revealed their business dealings and how Joe sought to rework the contract once he realized that Flip was taking advantage of the situation. Now, the advantage he was taking was Joe, in the previous contract, had allowed for Flip to miss a Patreon episode and also take off other time. And I think he was getting paid, but then Joe reworked the contract to where he only got paid if he showed up. And then Flip revealed that he was building his channel while Joe, put this in the contract and had this deal. And it's illustrating to me that Joe and, the JBN aren't really protected, and they were not prepared to deal with someone who had their own content strategy. Rory and Mal, Ish and Ice, and even Melissa Ford, they didn't really have a content infrastructure. So the contracts that the JBN had were more catered to friends who became content creators, but not friends who were content creators. And that allowed Flip to see Joe Budden as food. Now, we often think of Joe Budden as the podfather and all of this, but he's often a mark. Like, you look at what happened with Mandy, where she was able to take the podcast, See the Thing Is, and garner a multi-million-dollar deal. Then you even have Rory and Mal, who were able to spin off their own podcast and also garner several multi-million-dollar deals. And now you have Flip taking advantage. And we didn't even mention the whole Olivia Dope situation, where it seems like she got a nice settlement as a result of harassment that occurred in front of the cameras. So for all of the lip service we pay to how Joe Budden is this great businessman, he regularly gets taken advantage of, but that's the way the business goes. You win some, you lose some, and Joe Budden seemingly has lost something to Flip. And we also have to look at how Flip, he tries to curate this idea that he was Flip before the network. Yes, he was Flip before the network, but at the time he joins the Joe Budden podcast, his brand is the lowest it's ever been. So much so, he starts appearing on Joe Budden's Instagram streams talking about Slaughterhouse and, this is Joel, why are they doing this? They taking advantage of you. And I firmly believe this was an effort for Flip to force his way onto a show that would provide a steady paycheck. Remember, he had tax issues. He was in dire straits. He's been vocal on the show, about how he was told by people in his life that he fumbled the bag and he made mistakes with the expenditures. Basically, what Math is going through right now, he was going through back then. And Joe Budden gave him a lifeline. Flip was down in the dumps, and here comes Joe giving him a steady paycheck and the ability to film his content. And the moment he got there, Flip was seeking to profit off of the show in ways that made Joe feel uncomfortable, right? He was using Joe Budden's name to garner sponsorships. He was using some of the talking points from the show on his YouTube channel doing reactions to the Joe Budden podcast, basically doing what I'm doing on his channel. And it would appear that Ian or Joe spoke to him about it and he would stop. So that's something we have to acknowledge, is that maybe this whole time Flip was the master manipulator and Joe Budden wasn't prepared for someone who understood the entertainment business. And though this is jokes, a lot of folks feel it's content over everything. I don't think anybody is ever that calculated to completely suppress their inner thoughts. It manifests in jokes, it manifests in body language, and that's what this channel is all about. We examine the inner workings of what these guys are really saying. We speculate, and we get to the bottom of the brain. But let me know what you think about this exchange. This was very revealing. And I want to close by saying, if Flip is so profitable in his other business ventures, why hasn't he left the Joe Budden network? For all of the lip service he pays to, when he Manny punched back Woody, my Patreon numbers went crazy. It seems like that was a spike. Doesn't seem like that's something consistent, and you know that. It seems like every month it's a certain amount of money, but that was the one time that it went up. Then Flip had fights on his subsequent episodes of In the Room. Nobody cared. It wasn't Imani. It wasn't a member of the Joe Budden podcast. Flip needs that channel. He can bet on himself, but his content does good views. It does 50,000, 100,000, sometimes occasionally more than that. But for it to be the bedrock, it's different now. Flip is getting older. He probably doesn't want to be out there fake fighting with Safari, throwing him against the wall. And now he wants that steady check. So this could be posturing by Flip, and he really needs that check because he's been on that channel for a long time. 3 years is way longer than I expected him to stay. All right, y'all. Let me know what you think about what I said. Let me know what you think about what Flip said. Follow me on Instagram, The Stop TV. Follow me on Twitter, The Stop TV. Follow me on Patreon, The Stop. This is Danny from The Stop. Peace.